3-point scoring races left to go, including this one. Every chance that what happens here today will be critical to the outcome of both. Christophe Bouchou and Patrice Gousselard could claim the NGT crown if they win us here today. And GT, both Lister and Belmondo need a good result, and neither of them is anywhere in the front of the grid. Poleman Mike Hazeman was the only driver who got a dry lap under his belt in qualifying, just about a second off his best dry time in practice. Freisinger were perhaps luckiest of all. Their quick lap at the start of the first qualifying session, almost on a par with their best dry time. But to say qualifying was a lottery would be an overstate, because it wasn't even dry for that. And the best laps in qualifying were 20 seconds slower than the best lap in the dry, which was bad news for everyone except the NGT Porsches, which have always looked good in the rain before and now showed their basic classiness by qualifying right up at the sharp end of the grid. And now they may get the chance to do what they have always promised, not just finished on the podium, but maybe get a clear look at the checkered flag as it drops. Round 8 of the championship gets the green light, and away they go on a track that is brand new, still slippery even in the dry. Hazeman from pole position in the lead, take turn 1. Number 15 Lister tucking in second place, Philippe, then Wolfgang Kaufmann, Jürgen von Gartzen in the Conrad Porsche, and this huge clutch of Porsches, the NGT boys right up the front of this grid and really anxious to cash in this weekend. Lots of opportunities for creative passing here, as you can see. A lot of the drivers really like this circuit. It's challenging, it's tight and twisty, but you can pass here, and they're all having a bash. And that's a Voss at the back there, moving up the grid. Remember, the Belmondo cars were right down the back, so too was the number 14 Lister, and Voss already on the move. So it is Hazeman from Philippe Favre, Wolfgang Kaufmann, Jürgen Gartzen. That's Tony Seiler in the number 2 Chamberlain Viper. And a little bit of passing going on in the pack. Luca Riccitelli ahead of 22. That's Nico Witt. Patrick Heitman in 79 behind. And stringing out in line astern. And everybody looking at Guy. It's been raining this weekend. The weather's never really brightened up and said today I'm going to be sunny all day, and everybody has got a furled umbrella on the pit wall, and everybody has got the wet tyres lined up and ready to go. They're expecting to use them at some point during this race, but nobody knows when. Just look at how well these NGT cars perform. Luca Riccitelli has always been exciting in this car, but he's being left behind. Oh, and Nico Witt hits a seagull, or hits it too there. You can see the mark on the top right screen. Well, exit 1 Seabird, and that screen looks as if it's going to stay in place, and it doesn't seem to have dented his confidence at all. We were saying that Luca Riccitelli's always been impressive in the NGT Porsche, but at the moment it's his teammate Patrick Heisman in the number 79 car who's getting on with the job best. Nico Witt having a go now in the GT2 Porsche, uses the power and easily goes past. Look at the Viper behind though, here he comes. Vincent Voss has got a very good start indeed, has launched himself up through the field. You know that behind him the other Belmondo Viper and the 14 Lister will be coming hard. The Lister definitely the class of the field in the dry. It's dry now, or as dry as it's ever going to be, and as dry as it ever has been. Still very green, this surface. You can see it in the way the lights reflect on it. It's not damp, it's just brand new tarmac. Here comes the 11 car though. Paul Belmondo move as well. 12, this is moving up on the Red Bull Porsches, or at least moving up on Riccitelli, having to wait 1 for Patrick Heisman, but he'll have a go at that in a minute. Look behind for the first signs of the other Belmondo car. That'll be Paul Belmondo hustling up in a hurry. There he is, and there was the Lister as well in the background. So Julian Bailey is coming through too. And it's all going to get very interesting when they start through up the front. because these boys up here are racing. Nobody's going to be waving a blue flag at them, telling them to get out of the way. This is, and if you want to get past, you'll do it as best you can. Voss closing in on the GT2 Porsche now. And it will be just a matter of corners before he makes his move. Good overtaking here, come towards us at the end of this fast straight, braking for a slow corner. Classic overtaking opportunity. It's not happening here for Jürgen von Gartzen, who'd like to get past Wolfgang Kaufmann. And it does look at the moment as if von Gartzen could quite easily go a lot faster. And look at this. Haseman, followed by Philippe Favre, and already there's a big gap back to third, Wolfgang Kaufmann. And you can see why von Gartzen's getting agitated. He looks to him as though Wolfgang Kaufmann is holding him up. Whether or not he could make any inroads on that pair remains to be seen. Unlikely, but he's definitely anxious to get past. Vincent Voss closing in on Tony Seiler. There is Paul Belmondo picking off one or two, or just one of the NGT cars, and getting in among them, and right behind him comes that big black Lister. So Julian Bailey is on the way up. So too Belmondo, so too Vincent Voss, stuck in among the traffic in the twisty bits, but as soon as that gets a sniff of open tarmac, it'll be gone. There he goes. Christophe Bouchou, number 52, the points leader in NGT. Truly makes his biggest effort in the last hour and snatches the lead, but no rate at all to the power of the Lister. Julian Bailey's biggest concern is that the Belmondo boys, who lead the team's championship, are going to get away from him if he doesn't catch them up quickly, and that will affect the way the drivers' championship looks as well. So Lister need a good team result. At the moment they've got Philippe Favre up front, and they need really to have the other car up there as well. And through goes Bailey. That was the number 50 Pennzoil Porsche, Magnus Wallander. So the Lister moving quickly through the field, and everybody in black on the pit wall will be looking at the sky and hoping it does not look like rain. The last thing they need now is a rain shower. This car will go better on a dry surface, and what they want is a dry racetrack. The Lister can put that horsepower down on, closing up with the Viper now on Belmondo's tail. These boys in the Red Bull team are having a private race of their own in which no one else has been involved so far. Riccitelli ahead of Heisman at the moment, but for how much longer? If I was the team manager, I would be looking the other way about now. This one could turn to tears before bedtime if they don't relax and settle down to the task of racing the other cars. Julian Bailey in the number 14 Lister, right on the heels of Paul Belmont in the number 11 Viper, and there is the pass under brakes at the end of the straight. That's the way to do it. And the Lister now moving on with its task. At the moment, they're round about 10th place, 8th, 9th and 10th you're looking at in this area of the racetrack. But the man that Julian Bailey is chasing is about 4 cars in front of him. He's looking for Vincent Voss, who is moving up on 5th place about now in the number 12 Belmondo car. And Julian Bailey needs to get in front of him, and then he can start thinking about dealing with Mike Haseman, who has been going well, but at the moment isn't really a championship threat in the same way as those yellow Vipers. That's what they need to concentrate. Still fingers crossed for dry weather in the Lister camp at least. Everybody in a Porsche, regardless of NGT or GT2, will have their fingers crossed, hoping for rain any time now. Jürgen von Gartzen is doing his absolute utmost to get past Wolfgang Kaufmann, but those two cars so perfectly matched that there's really nothing he can do about it. Little bit of pressure. Maybe Kaufmann will miss a shift. Maybe he'll make a mistake, outbrake himself. Whatever. So all he can do is push, 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 and hope for a mistake. He's not going to get past on horsepower. and he's not going to get past on the brakes either. And they've nothing else to think about, because here comes the Viper. Has moved past Tony Seiler, as you can see. This is third, fourth, fifth and sixth, though. Vincent Voss, and look at this. That finger pointing to the sky tells you everything you need to know. Here's the reason why. It's suddenly turned ever so slippery. Michel Neugarten tiptoes round past Muller in the Lamborghini. How did he pull that one off? He must have been eating his tongue while he was doing that one. Here's leader. And he, no, look at that, just twitching on the front straight. That's how slippery this racetrack really is. That was just as they started to break for the corner. Mike Hazeman now knows just how tricky this race has become, and he's got mirrors full of big black Lister. Well, blacks, actually, but a big black Lister right behind him. And he's twitching even as he puts the power down. He can't accelerate the corners. Does a leaner, lighter piece of work, and he may well find that Philippe Favre can just as easy as he wants to. He's been there all the time, hasn't been able to do anything about it. Here's the gap. Look at this. This is third and fourth place coming here. There's a back marker in between, but that black Porsche with the green mirrors is Wolfgang Kaup third place, and he's the full length of this front straight behind second place. Von Gartzen as well. Vincent Voss behind that, struggling, lights on, wants the back markers to move aside, but he doesn't need to drive that car off the racetrack right now. Keep it on it is the task. And that's one of the Haberthor Porsches coming into the pit. They've decided to go for the wet tyres. The rain has started to fall. They've seen it all through again, and they're not taking any chances. These boys are still out here on slicks. It's a bit dry in places, but as soon as this surface gets wet, it's so slippery that even the lightest dusting of rain means that it becomes a skating rink for these big cars on wide slick tyres. Just look at the way that all over the place. Mike is on a fairground ride in that car, and there you can see off with the slicks and on with the wets, and this could be a very brave and clever call. Oh, it is a braver call. It is the right thing to do, because one of the Mac Porsches, that's Rapetti, sideways, no real harm done, except it'll have spoilt his confidence, and of course he's a couple of places. So it's all become very indeed on the racetrack, very, very fraught. Heisman, Riccitelli, and Paul Belmondo. And you can see the car coming out of pit lane at the edge of the picture now. Andrea Garbagnati staying in the car as Riccitelli goes past Nico Wirth. And there's a little Viper holding up behind. This is Tony Seiler. Watch that front wheel. He's got it on opposite lock, but it doesn't keep it out of the gravel trap. Just bounces across there. Scatters a bit of gravel. That won't help the situation either. Lights on. The warning is on. Look at this. It's very slippery. Nico Wirth is all over the place there, just coming out of the corner. Just gassed it up a little bit too heavily. Nothing serious, just breathed on that accelerator just a little bit too hard, and had a little dance down the main straight. And this is going to be interesting, because the race leader has come up on traffic. Mike Hazeman and Philippe Favre still right behind him. Hazeman just hasn't been able to shake that Lister off. Now, what will happen now the track is wet? You can see for yourself how wet it is, and you can see also that Philippe Favre definitely wants to take the lead of this, and he's in with a very good chance. Just looking at the body language of those two cars, it does rather look as though he is going to be able to pull that off whenever he wants to. Well, not quite whenever he wants to, but it's at the end of this stretch to come out here, right behind the number 25 car, be on the gas hard as he dare, and get the traction down. This isn't going to be close enough. It's not going to happen at the end of this straight. Or is it? Look at the way he came out of that corner. Philippe Favre really launched that Lister onto the front straight. Still not close enough under brakes, but see, he got the power down well. And it can only be a matter of time when he gets it right, when he's close enough. And even if Mike Hazeman finds himself just getting on a little bit of a white line, somewhere where it's just a little bit wetter and more slippery, and he's going to be in trouble, and that's the only opportunity. There's David Hart Toyney Hazelman, they know what's going on. They'll have their fingers crossed, and this is what they've been waiting for. It's been inevitable for a lap or two, and the Lister goes through, and there is nothing the Viper can do about it. Heavy with ballast, and of course the Lister a little bit lighter to start with, and through goes Philippe. So a new race leader in the shape of the number 15 Lister out in front. Here it is again, and you can see that he was on the inside, he was in the wrong part of the track, still braked, still turned in, still looked good. Nice pass from Philippe Favre, and there's more of it going on behind. Because look at this, the Viper has just moved up on the NG. Now they all pounced on the Vipers when the rain started and went swooping past because they could, and now all of a sudden Paul Belmondo's driving away from them again, and it may well be that that lone Porsche that came in for wet made a little bit of a mistake because the track appears to be drying, and look at this, here is the number 2 Chamberlain car, off come the wets and on go the slicks. So people who've been in and changed to wet tyres are already changing back to slicks, and well, you can so easily be on the wrong tyre, can't you? It doesn't matter what tyre you're on. There's bound to be a bit of racetrack at the moment where it'll be the wrong one, and you've really got to drive for that. Have a look at it again. Oh, and it wasn't just tyres, was it? It was that number 58 Porsche Russian crew, Nikolai Fomenko, Freisinger's Russian driver, in the wrong place, or in an unexpected place on the racetrack. And Christian Reed just stepped on the brake because he wasn't quite sure what was going to happen, any more than Nico Wirth is quite sure what's going on in the cockpit of number 22. It's all over the place. The board has been held up, the flag out, and there are cars on the grass and on the rain has come on. So here we go again. Team managers will be sucking their fingers and holding it up in the wind, thinking, is it going to rain some more? Is it going to go dry? Shall I change the tyres? Should we stay out there? Raffaele Sangriolo, back gets away from him. Bit of a classic in a Viper, that one, quite gently into the gravel. Just look at the mud and stones that are churned up. That's never an easy journey into the gravel trap, no matter how gentle it appears at the time. Still going for wet tyres, coming in early. This could be a good call. He got all the way up to 4th place in the dry when the rain came along and spoiled the party. And there's a man asking for a tow, and here it comes. Nice big tractor to pull him out of the gravel where he is stuck. And just look at this. It's like the end of a qualifying session as the pit lane suddenly full of cars. Hazelman's in there, they're all in there. Car and the drivers come in for wet tyres. It's undrivable without them, and so that could have been a good call for the Lister team because William Bailey's already back out there on wet tyres. Everybody else is changing, and Bailey could well be reaping the benefit. How crowded is that pit lane? Look at that. The car pressed up against the Mack Porsche. Orlandi just being pushed clear. Hazelman's still waiting for his tyres to be changed, and it's so crowded. They come in at an angle and then have to be pushed out backwards. They can't do those quick pit stops that we see everywhere else, but it's the same for it. So it's no real handicap, just a nuisance. Julian Bailey, I was going to say making hay when the sun shines, but that's really completely wrong, isn't it? He has gone out on, whoa dear, Philippe Favre stayed, and it's size, and Neugarten just had nowhere to go. And a racing accident in these conditions, but that may well have damaged the front end of the number 60 Porsche. And there is Favre skittering round. Well, look, you can see how nervous that car has suddenly become and how badly he needs some new tyres. Here it is again from a different angle. Watch the back go. Nothing he can do, and absolutely nothing that Michel Neugarten could do either. Stood on the brakes, stopped and hit him as gently as he could, but he nosed into that wheel, and that won't have front end of the Porsche any good at all. Safety cars out there. It's lap 22, and that's the reason the safety car is out there. It is bucketing with rain. This is a downpour. That is a Lister stuck in the gravel. There's another one who's going to need a helping hand. A trip across the grass, wheels locked up, steering full lock, and still there was no way of stopping it. It just slides. The safety car is out there though. And even so oh, look at this, the rain really coming down very hard indeed. And the Q4, oh, that's the end for number 16. Neugarten nosed into the and that's just poked a hole in the radiator, and that's the end of it for him. But he's maybe better off than some people. Just look at the safety car in what amounts to fog as all these cars kick up spray and they search for the right order to get the race lined up behind it, because this rain looks as if it's going to be here for long enough. Them out and get everything as it should be, looking for the race leader. Big fat tyres. Oh, Nikolai Fomenko again in the number 58 car, just a little bit sideways, and he's going to have to wait for the whole queue to go past him, so that won't have done him any good at all, as the safety car them down. And it's probably easier to drive the safety car in these conditions than it is to drive one of these race cars on wide slick tyres. The rain has definitely eased. It's lap 30. The safety car has got its lights off and is going in, and we're going to go racing in conditions that aren't really good for racing in. The green flag waves means the track's clear, but as soon as this lot gets to the end of the front straight, there'll be the fog of spray hanging over it. Visibility for the rest of the pack very indeed. The Vipers always struggling in the rain. These nimble NGT cars are about to try and do their utmost to get the front of this field and see if they can run away with the race in the rain. If it rains for a full thrust, then that might just happen for them, although it's a very busy racetrack, and Mike Hazeman almost hits the tyre wall and just clips it. Well, he's so lucky to get away with that one, but here's someone who has been unlucky. There's cars all over the place. Well, Muller in a spin has collected Tim Sugden, who's knocked Wolfgang Kaufmann, and it looks as though Kaufmann has managed to go on with it. And Muller all over the shop, the Lamborghini suffering the worst damage. But there's Wolfgang Kaufmann, just got a little tap on the door and has managed to keep going, but he's tangling now with Mike Hazeman. This is Fabio Mancini sideways. So we said conditions were a little bit suspect, and so it certainly is. There have been cars all over the place almost since the green flag was waved. This is your race leader. This is Boris de Richborg in the number 12 Viper, who started well down the grid, remember, and Vincent Voss drove it up to the front. De Richborg and a fast pit stop. They all are up in the lead and perhaps hanging on for the eventual victory. This is what they really need to get the Drivers' Championship on a par, their lead in the Teams' Championship, which they've held since the last round. And still they're going sideways. Tony Seiler, I think, still at the wheel of the number 2 Chamberlain in the distance. A little pirouette coming out of that final corner and turns the full to continue. That's Yukihiro Hana gravel with the 4 Freisinger car. This is the means of Muller's Lamborghini. And pit stop time for Car Sport Holland. Mike Hazeman staying in it as they refuel and prepare to change the tyres. Down to 6th place now, the Lister. Went as high as 4th. But the weather and all the dramas have dropped it down the order again. And here is the road duck. Into the gravel goes Andrea Garbagnati, and it looks as though he's stuck there for good this time. It's drama for everybody. This is Claude Gosselin riding number 11 Viper, but steering it back towards the tarmac, which is almost as slippery as the gravel and the grass. But at least it's summer, and he should be able to keep on going in roughly the right direction in these conditions. That's Gutty's spin coming out of that first corner. Just a little bit too heavy on the gas, doesn't take much. And a black flag for Muller, and that's the reason. No lights on the Lamborghini. Well, it may well be that they can't turn them on after it got walloped at the right in front of its own pit, in fact, on the main straight there. But it'll have to come in and do something about it, because in these conditions you have to have lights, as we've seen from all those cars in the gravel. And there's another one that, like the number 22 Porsche, it's difficult enough out there just with the weather.
Obviously the wet is not very good at all, but the biggest problem I had was the screen was completely blocked, misted over, and you just simply can't drive like that. And I was trying to survive out there, and I just had to stop because I couldn't see anything.
Jamie Walter has taken over in the number 14 Lister, and he's gone out there armed with a sponge to wipe the windscreen and hope that he will be able to see. And that is the number 3 Freisinger car, just overshooting at the of the main straight, turning back to look for the race, which is over there, and rejoining, losing a bit of time, but not bad. And the number 4 car follows suit as well. Well, they're all at it. Haseman on the grass, looking for a way back the racetrack that won't damage the car or get it stuck, and finding it. Gosselin again locks it up sideways, ploughs the mud and fills the car up with gravel and pebbles. Hans Willems has also spun the 51 car. Happened at the end of the front straight. There it is, just trying to turn in and failing dismally. Backs it escape road without too much trouble and comes to a gradual halt. It's happening to everybody, and it's happening almost everywhere. This was inevitable, wasn't it? The safety car back out there, and let's all form an orderly line behind it, please. Let's also pile into the pits as fast as we can, and those tires changed. There's another one stuck in the gravel and in need of a push, and the 51 car up to the axe. So there's cars all around the circuit, as you can see, still buried in the gravel. There goes another one to join Chamberlain. That's that Porsche going in backwards and getting stuck. And it looks as though he's decided to call tow. Come on, he's saying, give me a pull. Where's the rope? Safety car still out there while we clear the edges of the track. It's really a lottery here, or worse. And you can see the Lister's had a little moment. No, it's coming out of the pit lane and held there, waiting at the pit lane exit and waiting for what exactly? The track is clear.
Benji, what's going on?
Well, they've held him there for this.
Go!
Well, Lawrence Pierce, never one to bite his tongue and keep silent when he could speak out. What was that about? They kept the number 14 car there and waited for the whole queue to come past. Lawrence Pierce obviously didn't think that was the right thing to do, but now we're running on to darkness. As you see, the light car looking a little bit darker actually.